Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about creatures again. We're going to be digging into the Monster Manual and other books like it to discuss creatures that DMs will really like to throw at their players for a challenge or a creative style of combat. Yes, there's lots and lots of monsters in D&D that are super deadly, super powerful, or that are super easy. I've chosen a top 5 list of creatures that have unique or special powers that make them either exceptionally deadly or exceptionally complicated. And I think that this list of creatures is ones that DMs should listen out for and maybe throw at their players if their players need the challenge to step up a little bit. That's not to say that you should tailor all your combats to try to kill your players as quickly as possible, but some players like a challenge, and in those cases, these are great monsters for that. Before we get started, though, I wanted to let you know that Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support my channel here on YouTube. There's a join button below this video. If you join, you get a little badge next to your name in the comments so people know that you're a member of the channel, and my undying gratitude. Thank you so much for watching the videos and enjoying what I do here on YouTube. So, CR-1 quarter creatures. We're right at the beginning of the game. These are creatures that players will find challenging at the low levels of play. We're going to start with a good old reliable, straight out of the back of the monster manual, the zombie. The undead fighter. Zombies are real simple creatures. They are easy to hit with only an AC of 8. They have 22 hit points, which is quite a lot for this level, and a speed of 20 feet, so they're easy to outrun and easy to hit. Ranged combatants should have no problem with zombies, right? And they only have a real basic slam attack, plus 3 to hit, doing 1d6 plus 1 damage. So why are they here? What's so interesting about them? Well, it's their feature, Undead Fortitude. You see, when you reduce a zombie to 0 hit points, they get to make a Constitution save. The save is 5 plus the damage they took to get them to 0 hit points. And in the event of, let's say that you're doing 5 damage with your attack, that means they have to make a DC 10 Constitution save. They already have a plus 3, so they only have to roll a 7 on the die to get it. And if they nail that, well, they don't die. They just drop to 1 hit point instead. You have to hit a zombie really hard in order to guarantee they stay down. Even a barbarian who's hitting with a massive greatsword at level 1 or 2, they're going to be doing only about 10 damage on average. That's a DC 15 save. The zombie's going to make that like 40% of the time. A room full of zombies is not easy to bring down, no matter how strong you are. Like I said, sticking to range and shooting them is a good tactic, but unless you're hitting them with a really heavy ranged weapon, you might be struggling to keep them down. So a lot of folks write zombies off as cannon fodder, but if the DM is letting them use their undead fortitude, they're really hard to take down. So that's number 1 on the list, or number 5, I suppose, on a top 5. Next one, another classic from the Monster Manual, the wolf. Wolves are oftentimes people's favorite animals to transform into, like druids love to transform into wolves. Rangers love to have wolves as pets. Wolves are fun animals to play as, or to play with, but what if you have to fight them? Their AC is 13, they have 11 hit points, and a speed of 40 feet, making them as fast as a horse. They have keen hearing and smell, so they're really good at doing perception checks that involve hearing and smell. And they have a bite attack, does plus 4 to hit, does 2d4 plus 2 damage, and you have to make a strength save when they hit you, or they can knock you prone. This is real dangerous because they can drag you to the ground and keep biting you for advantage. But that may not be necessary with a wolf, because they have one other feature, pack tactics. This is why wolves are so deadly, and a lot of players like to use them, because of pack tactics. Anytime a wolf attacks a creature that's next to one of the wolf's allies, this can be a player character or just another wolf, that automatically grants the wolf advantage on their attacks. So when these things gang up on creatures, they don't even have to drag them to the ground with their bite attack. Their attacks have advantage anyway. So this gives them a significant boost in their chance to hit, taking it from the +4 to a mathematical +9. Wolves don't miss easily, and their pack tactics is a really, really powerful thing. Just a small pack of a few wolves can prove a challenge to players if they're using the pack tactics well, so watch out for that. Moving along to something a little less common, we're going to talk about a little elemental creature known as a mephit, specifically the mud mephit from the monster manual. Mud mephits are tiny little mud elementals, the mixture of water and earth, but they're just really small. Mud mephits have an AC of 11, but 27 hit points, making them relatively beefy. They have a 20-foot walking speed, a 20-foot swimming speed, and a 20-foot flying speed, making them quite versatile in the way that they can approach you. They have a basic fist attack with a +3 to hit. Does 1d6 +1 damage, so that's fine. They also have a breath weapon. And this isn't like your standard dragon's breath. It doesn't actually do damage. They simply breathe out against a creature, and it has to make a dexterity save, and if it fails, it's restrained by mud for an entire minute, or they can repeat the save at the end of their turn. This breath recharges if the mephit rolls a 6 on their d6 at the beginning of their turn, so they can use it, 15-20% of the time. And a restraining breath attack, pretty strong when you're dealing with low-level parties that may not have the greatest saving throws. They also have the false appearance trait, which means they can blend in. If they don't move when they're on the ground, they're basically indistinguishable from a pile of mud. And they have a death burst, meaning that when they die, they actually explode, doing more damage to creatures nearby. So mephits are tricky. Swimming and flying make them maneuverable. A decent pool of hit points makes them tough to take down. And their mud breath restraining characters, real tricky to deal with if you don't have good saving throws. Dexterity-based characters might not struggle too much against these guys, especially if they've got ranged attacks, but if you're fighting in melee and you get restrained, that's a tricky spot to be in. So watch out for mud mephits. They're tricky little creatures. But anyway, let's move away from the monster manual and talk about the final two on my list. The next one comes from Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. And this hellish creature is known as the Bone Whelk. Bone Whelks are basically demonic snails. They have an AC of 12, 27 hit points, a speed of 15 feet, as well as a 15-foot climb speed with spider climb. So they can go up walls, long ceilings, no problem at all. They have the feature known as adhesive. Basically, if any medium-sized creature touches the Bone Whelk, whether it's to grab them or to attack them, anything that's in melee, they stick to it. And the weird thing is that there's no save to this. You just stick. You have to make a check to break away from the Blood Whelk. So, and it's not that bad of a check. It's a DC 10. So if you're a strength-based character, you should be fine. It's just the fact that when you stick to it, you then have to use your action to get off of it. And that's you wasting your turn. That's really tough spot to be in, especially at low levels. The actual damage it does isn't that significant. It only has a +2 to hit and does 1d8 damage because it bites. Unless you kill it. See, that's the thing about Blood Whelks. Not only do they get you to stick to them, but if you kill one, they have a death scream ability where they effectively let out a cry. I think it's got a 10-foot radius, and there's no saving throw for this either. You just take 2d8 necrotic damage when this scream sets off. So if you're a fighter, barbarian, paladin, someone who's fighting up close with this thing, if you kill it, you're just taking damage. Like, you can't save it. You could resist it, I suppose, but it's not easy. And this makes these things really dangerous for melee fighters. Again, and this seems to be a pattern with zombies, mud mephits, and bone whelks. Again, you want to stick to range with these creatures, shooting them from distance or hitting them with spells. But a lot of characters at low levels just like to grab their big swords and run into combat. And this creature really can throw a wrench in that. So if you've got a party full of creatures that love to just charge in, this could really throw them off. So watch out, players. The bone whelks are not easy to fight. But finally, the last one on the list, and this one I didn't choose because of its insane power. I just chose it because it's a really good customizable creature. It's called the Mongrel Folk, and it comes from Curse of Strahd. The Mongrel Folk are effectively humanoids that have had experiments or magic done to them to make them look more bestial. They have your standard 11 AC, 26 hit points, a 20-foot speed, and they have a bite attack, a claw attack, and a dagger attack, all of which have a +3 to hit, all of which do 1d4 plus 1 damage. And since they can multi-attack, they can bite and then use their claw or dagger in one turn, so they can get a couple attacks off. But the thing that makes them most interesting is actually their extraordinary feature trait. This trait makes them customizable. It says right in the book that a DM can roll on a table to determine what feature you're going to get, or they can just choose. There's loads in here. There's amphibious ones, so they can breathe underwater. There's ones that have dark vision. There's ones that have keen hearing and smell. There's also ones with spider climb. There's ones that have the standing leap power, where they have a really, really powerful jump. There's also ones that can fly. They straight up have like bone and flesh wings and can fly. And there's ones that are two-headed, which means they have advantage on certain checks or saving throws. And all of these powers, you don't get to choose multiple ones. You only get to choose one per creature. But if you're using several of these creatures, you can mix and match these powers as you see fit. And that's what I love about the Mongrel Folk. They're not overly strong. Their AC is not that powerful, their speed isn't that impressive, and their attacks don't do much damage, but you never know what you're getting with one. You know, some of them hide in the dark, some of them hide in the water, some of them can fly, some of them have spider climb and can climb on walls. Like, there's loads of variety with this single creature. So DMs, grab yourself half a dozen Mongrel Folk against that level 3 party, and give them each a different gift, a different extraordinary feature. That way you've got yourself a variety. Or you could just give them all flight if you really wanted to mess your party up. Or just give them all dark vision if you didn't want them to have any particularly strong powers. But the fact that you have the choice is what makes the Mongrel Folk so special to me. And I think that throwing them in any game, they don't have to be in Curse of Strahd, that's just the book they come from. You could throw creatures like this as kind of like baby lycanthropes or, low-level shapeshifters. This kind of thing works in a lot of different scenarios. And with their variety to their stats, you can make some really memorable combat encounters against these creatures. All of these creatures, you can have some interesting things you got to deal with as a player character, but I think that last one really takes the cake when it comes to unpredictable and interesting fights. So DMs, check these creatures out. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more creature reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.